Welcome to Brewing It Over with Cup North, the show that gives you the chance to deep dive into the topics shared in the content programme at our events. From social to consumer to sustainability issues, there's something for everyone. I'm Hannah Davis.
And I'm Grace Talbot. And today we're joined by Pauline Johnson from Station South, who delivered a talk titled Brews and Bikes with Nick Harris from Bespoke Coffee at last year's Manchester Coffee Festival. Pauline is a nationally recognised multi-award-winning advocate of active travel. She runs Civic and Social, an independent activation consultancy. She's behind Greater Manchester's first ever active neighbourhood and is the founder director of Station South, a once dilapidated railway station turned award-winning cycle cafe and active travel hub. She's currently infiltrating local authorities, developers, and big project leaders' brain space in the north of England so they can consider their existing and future spaces in the context of child embracing and active places for people to get about freely and have fun doing it.
Yes, we like this infiltrating of developers. Sounds good. Before we welcome Pauline to the podcast, Don't forget, if you want to listen to her talk from Manchester Coffee Festival, hang on until the end of the podcast to hear the full recording.
Welcome, Pauline!
Hello! Hi, how are you doing?
Hello! I'm doing all right, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm feeling relaxed today, chilled, and quite excited to be on. I think it's my first ever podcast. Yeah.
Well, we are very lucky to have you.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's a nice collection of feelings as well. Chilled, relaxed, and excited.
Yeah, it's like it's a nice mix. Yeah, I don't feel too caffeinated yet, so that's good. Yeah.
Yet being the operative word, we like this. This is a person who knows themselves and their caffeine addiction.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I was just kind of musing over the fact that I haven't had a proper coffee today. And I guess it's just the definition of what coffee is as well, like what a proper coffee is. Like I'm kind of longing to go for a walk and go to the local my nearest good coffee place, which is Cobean, in Heaton Moor. So they've opened up a little place and it's just amazing. And he roasts his own coffee and stuff. So yeah, kind of longing for that expensive treat.
Yeah. I mean, this actually leads very nicely into my plan of action to put you at ease. I have some questions to ask. They're very easy, don't worry. But are you ready?
Okay. Oh, God. Yeah, fire away.
Okie dokie. Number one, related to what you were just talking about. What is your coffee order?
I'm so boring. It's a flat white every time. It really is.
That's not boring.
I mean, yeah, it's a flat white, and then I've on occasion when I've just wanted a bit less milk, a cortado, like with sometimes that kind of sometimes you kind of get cortado ? And then you're in the wrong place.
So some kind of little milky delight for you. We will get our fabulous barista Hannah on the job of putting that together for you. Now, whilst we wait, we're in our dream cafe. So what music is playing in this dream cafe, Pauline? What are we listening to?
Right, okay. Oh yeah, okay. I'm strolling in and they have a playlist of smooth R&B from the 90s, probably a bit of D'Angelo. So it's kind of like a bit neo soul as well. So yeah, brown sugar would be on, and then maybe a couple of treats from Prince as well. Yeah, bit of Prince.
That's a strong selection. Yeah. I'm really experiencing this with you as well. I feel like I too am strolling in with you. Like you have set that scene. I love it.
Oh yeah, I want to be there.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very last question. And I think this is probably one of the hardest ones to answer, to be honest. What is your most memorable coffee shop experience? Or one of, if you can't pick the definitive one, because that's difficult.
Oh, I've got so many. But I guess I should probably give a shout out to it's more of a feeling that's than a memory. It's kind of a consistency thing where like I've felt really safe and like a safe space in Levenshulme and Trove when it first opened up and kind of changed the high street and offered something that just didn't exist there before as one of the early residents of that when it opened up, going in and just like experiencing proper coffee in Levenshulme and just having some like alternative music on and having some nice sourdough bread. It was everything I needed at that point, and I just habitually go back whenever I needed a moment.
Yeah, I love that. We've asked a few people this question, and I feel like one of the really common themes that we're seeing is it's very rarely about like a specific coffee. Like some people absolutely are like, oh, this washed Ethiopian I had blew my mind. But there's this overriding theme of like the people and the feeling and the safety and community. That's the thing that obviously resonates with us so massively as lovers of this industry. So that's just lovely to hear. What a great answer.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
And
true as
Trove was
well.
a
Like
bit
I
of
think
a
they're kind of game
jewel.
changers. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And they set the tone as well, didn't they? Like kind of finding good coffee. I think they used to use passion fruit roasters years ago and then moved to all press as well. But that kind of piqued my interest in just but in actual like in actually where people get their coffee from and why and how it kind of works.
Amazing. Well, we love Trove. They've exhibited at our festivals a couple of times. So yeah, they're friends of the family. Um, yeah, so you've nailed the quickfire questions. Well done. 3 out of 3. And now we're going to get stuck into some of the questions related to the talk that you delivered with Nick from last year's Manchester Coffee Festival. I am personally very excited for this one. As I said, I'm a cyclist and also a big lover of coffee. So anything that involves talking about both of those things makes me happy. And you talk a little bit about in the talk about kind of the origins of coffee and cycling and how that like linked back to was it Eddie Merckx and the FIEMA sponsorship. And I think that is like obviously like a big part of the connection with coffee and kind of professional cycling. But I think that like and you sort of touched upon this in the talk as well, a lot of what's really important to cyclists is that kind of sense of community and kind of having somewhere to go, and also like having something like caffeinated because it like gets you going on your bike, obviously. So I think there's like lots of different aspects to the kind of the link between cycling and coffee, and we can talk more about all of those today, but just thought maybe we'd give you a bit of an opportunity to kind of tell us like what you're up to these days and how it's going at Station South.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am now no longer on the day-to-day of Station South. I left in November and to pursue a consultancy business that I've set up, which is focusing on creating spaces for people in different communities and trying to align things like active travel with hubs and with big developer projects and big local authority framework schemes, just trying to basically instill and install that idea that if you have people involved in the process at the very start, you can build a better community and a better living experience for people. So that's kind of what I'm doing now, and navigating all the different meetings and all the different stakeholders and people that are in that space in Greater Manchester. So it's a bit of a minefield, and I have kind of used my kind of learning of developing and building and hustling to make Station South happen, to kind of jump onto another new project, which is exciting and terrifying and very much kind of me at the moment. So like, so it's me and anyone else who will listen. So, again, it's just like starting from the ground up, which I guess Station South was a test case in that. How can you go from seeing something and knowing that it would work and having that vision, or having the ability to help other people create a vision, and then kind of work really hard for 5-6 years to build that with the community, and then actually open up, launch, and then sustain a business and do the day-to-day operations of that. So Station South is one of my project babies, and I check in on it, love it, and see it progressing now with the team that's in place. And they've still got that same passion for developing innovation, developing their offer, food and drink offer, and developing the community around them as well. So you've kind of branched out into developing the green space to become a hub for growing and food creation and learning about biodiversity. I think they're doing mushroom workshops now and all sorts of things. So it's something that the people are going to make it evolve and sustain it as well, because they're our customers, and those that maybe can't afford to go in there every day and buy a £3 coffee can also come and enjoy that outdoor space and use the facilities, which is very much the intentions and why it was funded in part as well. So that the model was, this is a business, but it's also a community interest company with a social mission. And I think when you go there, you can feel that it is more than just a cafe. It's a cycle cafe, and its mantra is it's a cycle cafe for everyone. And more you can see that being the case, because it's really exciting to see the projects that are coming out of it, the new people that are taking up cycling, the kids. Oh my gosh, like for me, it's an absolute dream to have many years ago seen kind of been involved in a co-design with the community and saying, should we what could we have there that helps children learn to ride, or have a safe space in Levenshulme that isn't in a park that closes at night and you can't access. And now we've got this like cycle maze, which is also now a scooter maze and a running maze and a jump about doing things. It's beautiful, because it really is, in terms of the actual impact of that part of the outdoor space. I think it cost like $5,000 to install, which is not a lot of money in the grand scheme of the scheme, but it's just mind-blowingly well used. So that just inspires me, seeing that little thing and seeing how the adults interact and allow their kids just to go off and do their own thing whilst they're enjoying a drink in the space. It just sings to me, and it makes me think, oh my gosh, yeah, this could happen everywhere. There was a bit of land, a bit of free space. You could have little pocket parks that have activation for children to practice. It doesn't need to be a big massive space. It could be somewhere connected to good food and good drink, kind of like a Chuck E. Cheese for hipsters or something like that. Was it Chuck E. Cheese? Like a wacky warehouse? That's Chuck E. Cheese. A wacky warehouse.
Iconic.
Yeah. But yeah.
I mean, it sounds amazing what you're describing. I feel like I've just listened to like a description of utopia. Like, what a wonderful thing to have been part of and have such a passion for. Why do you think coffee in particular works for this, like as a conduit to achieve these other things? Because obviously we're coffee people. I mean, Hannah's both. Hannah's a cyclist and a coffee lover. I am aggressively not road safe on my bike, but I can see how coffee works for this. And I think you can talk a bit about that? Like, why does coffee work for creating these community spaces?
I think there is a universal appeal to a hot brew. You know, in every culture across the world, you'll find some form of hot drink that people enjoy, and the exploration and development of our own kind of drinks in the space have, you know, we've had like people from different parts of the world ask for different types of coffee to be made, which kind of then, you know, sets a challenge for our baristas, because it's such a diverse area as well. You know, like you can learn from coffee, you can learn about other people's cultures from it, and you can it sparks up conversation between people as well. You know, it's a simple act, isn't it, of saying what would you like to drink and finding out what people enjoy to drink. That's the human connection of it that's so beautiful. And then the beauty of it as well is that it's come and have a coffee first, and it's kind of cycling through the back door. Like, you know, we're not aggressively pushing, you know, the idea of like, you must come to our cafe dressed in lycra and you must wear a little cap, and like, you know, that must be how you come in and enjoy our space. It's absolutely not that, but you're totally welcome to do that if you want as well. That was always our philosophy. It's kind of how can we make the coffee the core and the cycling the everyday thing that people can do to get there, do to for leisure, do for sport, you know, and get advice and get education as well, like if they haven't ever even thought about it before. So it's kind of coffee is the wraparound for that, and we always seen coffee as a wraparound to our wider program. And when we were looking at funding, we would specifically include an allocation of a support requested to provide good quality coffees to our community and local people who are coming in to the space potentially for the first time. You know, we wanted to say, come and have a coffee that you want, like come and have, you know, a cappuccino, a flat white, an Americano, one of our nice filters. You know, and it's not just a case of like coming out of an instant and, you know, or a cheap tea bag, you know, which is so often the case when community-based initiatives and funded programs happen. We are setting the tone so that everyone deserves good coffee, even if they're not paying for it, because it's been paid for through a program and supported by one of our you know, partners, TFGM, you know, so they got on board with that, and that's really cool. And that's you know, that's gives me a real feeling of pride, and that we are able to offer that and also promote that to the funders as an idea. Because I think when you're thinking about setting up community hubs or setting up spaces that people actually want to come to and learn new skills and connect with the community, you know, it's also like an incentive and a draw. You know, if you can get a nice bit of cake and a bit of coffee as part of that learning or that experience, you're going to want to come back and, you know, come back again and be with people that you might not have been hanging out with, or and you know, it's just an absolute win-win for programming, for future customers as well, you know, and for the funders and for us. So,
but yeah, what you're saying kind of speaks to like a general kind of increase in the expectations from consumers, probably not just in like community spaces, but like across all coffee shops now. I think people do have like much higher expectations because people are just much better educated about what good coffee is, and yeah, it's definitely a way to keep people coming back to what you're doing. It sounds like Station South has got a really clever and innovative and amazing and inspiring model for working. We have noticed recently that a couple of South Manchester cycling cafes have closed down, Service Course. There was another one, I've forgotten the name of it, but it's down like maybe in Wilmslow or maybe a bit further afield. And really sadly, Look Mum No Hands in London recently closed down. Do you have any kind of feelings or ideas about what's going on with these cafes and why they're not working?
Confused, but not really surprised given the current state of play with regards to rents going up and you know how expensive it is to run a cafe. You know, I'm sure you've probably heard through many establishments how hard it is to keep the lights on. I don't know what their pressures were there, but I think for the service course they did a statement, didn't they, saying pretty much the same thing, that just due to rising costs they couldn't keep it up. And I guess when you've got two businesses on the go together, you're kind of juggling two sets of pressures. And with the cycling side of things, they had such a good setup and such a clientele as well that were kind of, you know, they were reaching for your kind of leisure cyclists that are, you're going to go out on a day and do a 40-mile, you know, and then come back and have some food. And I know that a few big cycle manufacturers, the in the industry had also folded and gone into administration. So like the suppliers basically of all the parts and that kind of thing, which impacted on people's ability to like service bikes, and you know, nervous times for the cycling industry post pandemic. I think it just all went a bit. We at Station South reduced the hours of the bike station as well at the end of last year, for those same reasons, that it's winter time, you naturally get less people wanting to service their bikes or think about that. So you just have to revise the model all the time, and it's the kind of evolving thing. And you know, Station South hasn't been without its financial challenges. It has had to evolve the menu, evolve the offer, and find new ways to earn money as well. Get creative with event programming and still trying to be accessible. So it's a constant juggle, and I'm obviously not there anymore, but you know, I know that they are always kind of reviewing the business model, like to make sure that they can stay open. And times are hard for people, especially in places like Levenshulme, you know, where it's you know, other businesses nearby have shut down. That's another thing, you know, kind of like the nervousness of the high street when people are just going, sorry, can't take it anymore. Like a great cafe 2 doors down, Auntie G's, which was just wicked but different, you know, they've just closed. And so yeah, I think that, I don't know if it's just cycle cafes or if I think it might just be cafes with too much, you know, with lots of little businesses, micro businesses going on with the core business. Just hard to sustain. And I think, you know, one of the good things about Station South is that it is a community interest company, so it has got a not-for-profit ethos. So the money that's going in is going back in to whatever it needs to progress it. So, and then you can always seek funding to do things that prop up the business as well, you know, prop up the business and the social output, and hope that people keep coming through the door, because it's all about people coming through that door every day and spending money. That's business.
community element of the business though as well, I imagine that feels quite different than just getting people through the door just to buy things. Obviously you're a business that needs to be kept afloat, but from the community's perspective, how has it been received locally, having a space like Station South?
Yeah, I mean, when we launched, and prior to that launch, so we had like 5.5 years where we're just selling this vision and trying to keep people's momentum up when the pandemic happened. And we were like, the building work was stalling, and we were like, we'll be open in 2 years. You know, so like, but thanks for the crowdfunding. You know, so there was a real story to tell and maintain, and you know, thank goodness that the people that did invest, like over 1,000 people, were kind of just on board for that journey, and ready to go when we finally got opened. And then we kind of did a second push on the marketing. You know, so there was a whole month worth of events to G people up and get them excited and let them know that this space was now theirs to contribute to. So not only contribute financially by keeping us afloat, but also to help inform the events and the programming, and you know, come and volunteer, come and work there. I mean, you know, employing like 20 people in a space, going from like just 3 people kind of working on this project to having all those members of the team and all the skills that they brought, and then all the friends that they've brought as well, and their parents. You know, like where I work, and you know, there is natural kind of building of family in those spaces because of that. You know,
Yeah.
you know, so it's an interesting one, but the community, you know, it's been really well received, and I think everyone is thankful that that building has been saved. I think there are issues with, you know, certain people in the community feeling that it's not for them yet, you know, or still, and that's just a communications problem, because you know, you can't reach everyone and tell everyone that there are things that they could come to where they would be able to enjoy the space as well without having to spend, you know, money that they don't have, like to spend on a £3 coffee. And you know, and you know, there are those things where we've just got like a builder's brew, like at reasonable price as well, and trying to find those price points where people can access it. You know, we're not going to turn anyone away that wants to come and sit in a space for a couple of hours either. It's a big enough space to facilitate that. That was the thing. We witnessed that happening a couple of times as well. Like even just during Ramadan, it was so funny. There's a girl that was just there, and she was just there all day, like, and she wasn't eating, she wasn't drinking, she wasn't doing anything. She was just chilling on a couch all day long. And it's like, well, you can't really say anything, can you? You know what I mean? And you wouldn't want to either. Like, so it's just like, enjoy, because it wasn't busy. It was like a Wednesday, so it wasn't a busy day. But you know, you kind of balancing like trying to be welcoming and like turnover of space.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, say there are about a million things that I would like to ask, and I think we might have to do this again probably. But I suppose just before we sign off, you've mentioned that you're involved in other projects. Do you want to kind of expand a little bit on them? Is that something you can expand on within reason, or just some teasers for our listeners, maybe?
Well, I am a very. I'd like to. I'll big myself up a little bit, because I'm a
Do
hardworking,
it.
creative individual who kind of, I'd like to think that I think outside the box, and that helps get projects started, like an instigator, if some cases a bit of a fire starter.
Yes.
You know, I really believe in helping people to, I guess, helping the environment and the climate action causes that, you know, like what can we do as individuals, as local authorities, as developers, to just get with the programme and, you know, stop the world from burning.
Yes,
And
please.
it's kind of like it's a hard one. I don't want to sound like I'm preaching, but there's a lot of work to be done in Greater Manchester. And some of the easiest things to do would be to enable people to walk and enable people to cycle around the places that they live. So that's where my focus is now, working on projects with councils and with transport planners to make those things happen. But I'm working in Manchester at the minute and doing some really nice like community engagement pieces to kind of get on the ground with people. That's where I'm good. I'm good at chatting to people and making people believe that ideas are possible. And and I think that I just actually had a meeting yesterday, and I said to the people that are in charge of the project, like, are you going to make sure that there's like coffee and biscuits there? So, like, because again, I can't have a conversation with anybody without a brew. Like, and people will be slightly less peeved with your intentions. Hi, we want to do all these great things, like, and they're all dry mouth. We need them to have a drink in front of them.
See, yet another glorious part of coffee, right? The great smooth over, as well as everything else we've said.
It totally is.
Amazing.
It really, really is. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
So, it's been lovely chatting to you guys.
Thank you. It's been really, really interesting hearing everything. If people want to find out more about what you're doing, or if they want to find out more about Station South, where should they head to?
For all things Station South has a great website. And then I think there's a link to Eventbrite on their website where you have like a big rundown of all the events that are going on in the future. So that's all linked in there. So stationsouth.co.uk. And for me, I am you'll find me on LinkedIn hustling, mostly under the guise of civic and social. So just drop me a line if you've got any interesting projects or ideas, and we can see how we can work together.
Amazing. Thank you so much. We'll put links to both of those things in the show notes
Hannah.
for people.
Cheers, great.
And just a reminder to keep listening now for the recording of the talk from last year. And also just to note that the recording was made during a very busy event, so sometimes the sound quality drops in and out, but it's well worth a listen. It's a talk of two halves, actually. It's well worth listening to the whole thing, I think. And if you've enjoyed the podcast and want to keep up to date with all of our content, be sure to go and follow us over at Brewing It Over on Instagram. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for listening. We'll be back soon for another episode of Brewing It Over.
A little bit and how we came to be interested in the collaboration between all three. A little bit about myself. So my name is Pauline Johnson, and I'm one of 3 directors at Station South, which is a community interest company based in a beautifully restored train station building in Levenshulme. You see it there, that's in its kind of 6 months ago form when we first opened. Prior to that, it was 6 years of developing the project and getting people behind the project and getting £1 million gathered up from various funding streams to be able to get the building up and running. So for the past 6 months, it's been finding our feet and developing our coffee and tea offer and our food offer, and also try to get a sense of what people want in the space. Like all the different customers, all the different user groups and visitors coming for different reasons. So, we've been identifying that and responding to that as a space in a very diverse and kind of culturally edgy and cool neighbourhood, so we like to think we can add to that mix as well. So my background really is working in community-based projects. I have a background in the arts, so I've brought a little bit of kind of how to get events going and get people interested in different creative things that you can do in a space that isn't all about cycling. Also, I have a massive geeky passion that I didn't realise I had until about 4 years ago. in developing space, especially for active travel. So this project led me on to active travel, which is essentially all about walking, cycling, and building infrastructure that supports people who don't normally cycle or walk, really, and getting them into that, but it's like, if you build it, they will come. So I'm very much about trying to help build it and kind of nudging along the conversation with politicians as well. So that's my background. And this is where I'm at currently, doing the communications and all the partnership stuff for Station South. So moving on to, I should have showed you this. Yeah. This was part of our vision that we're not far off building this now. So we've got our outside space developing.
And it looks exactly like this as well.
It looks exactly like this. Shut up. Next spring it will. On to Nick.
Okay, well, this is us. So bespoke, so spokes in a wheel, hubs, community. So that's our aims and objectives. Sustainability around cycling, etc. Community, which is really important to us, which we'll go into a lot more. Cycle communities, etc. Coffee communities, but this community as a whole. Yes, we're a little bit smaller. This building just here didn't used to be here, and I used to do bike mechanicking, but then I realised I wasn't insured to do so that stopped. But yeah, this is us. My background is I used to be a community worker, worked in mental health, drugs and alcohol, learning difficulties. I've also been a fundraiser and now a business owner of Bespoke. And I've got a tattoo here, which I really regret, because this used to be the logo for Bespoke, but when I had it done, I didn't realise. I was just like, just put that there, because my friend did it. And then I had to get all the branding changed, because I was like, how daft is that, getting your brand on you?
Well, that's history in the making.
But I'm also a musician, and I tell you what, if I had my bass guitar here, I would feel really happy in thousands of people. But here, this is terrifying. And this is the love of my life, except from my family, Matt and Shan over there. Yeah. I just love, this is me. I'm happiest when I'm on my bike. I've got a driver's license, but I hate driving. Parking, queues. I just want to be on my bike. I drink coffee.
So basically, to start us off, really, it's understanding, and this has been as much of a journey to understanding the origins of cycling and coffee together. For myself, it's a chance for me to explore, the relationship between coffee and cycling. And it's, there's probably people in stalls over the way, Kickback Coffee, the service counter, Rafa, people here today that know far greater than us about the origins of cycling and coffee. However, I just wanted to give a nod to Eddie Merckx, who was a Belgian cyclist. It was top of his game. And the reason for why a lot of people think there's a real connection between cycling and coffee is basically the brand partnership between the cycling team and the FEMA brand as well. So that kind of started in the 1960s, and it's kind of synonymous, that kind of starting point. The relationship between cycling and coffee kind of evolved from there, and it just kind of spiraled, really. Brands were like, we want a bit of this, we can sponsor jerseys, we can sponsor teams, we can sponsor individual cyclists as well. So you'll see this connection running through elite cycling, and it's just one that's kind of elevated the coffee in this country as well, because obviously European cities, European cyclists are coming over with their wonderful espresso and their kind of standards of how to serve coffee, and bringing it over to Britain, and we're getting the benefit of that in all of the artisan coffee shops that you see nowadays as well. So we've got that. We've got Café Columbia, which was again that brand kind of basically formed a cycling team. So, I mean, that's kind of going the other way. They saw an opportunity and they took it. And the kind of benefits for them is that now they are synonymous with cycling. And, year on year, you're kind of seeing different jerseys coming out in little espresso cups, and you can't have one without the other. So, that was kind of 60s. That was the 80s. And kind of more recently, you kind of see the evolution of this in the UK. We have 5 Rings, which are based up in Edinburgh, and it's actually we've got a group of elite cyclists that have decided to just set up their coffee shop, and this is their business now, and they have a brand, and this coffee is available in other cycle cafes across the country. We've got Wilmslow service counter. They have that on special as well sometimes as their special.
I'll just say, I think part of the reason they set it up because I used to serve them in Coffee Fix, and they had such delicious coffee from me. They thought they'd set up their own coffee.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Jermaine Thomas as well. He's still going. He's, top of his game. And he had a relationship with Pack Coffee, who do subscriptions across the UK. And that was a really interesting relationship. And that coffee was a sellout. It was called Grand Forno? Yeah, and the packaging was beautiful as well. The artwork and the creativity that was coming out of it, and all very much curated by Geraint himself. So, it's a really interesting relationship that just is continuing. And I think actually I forgot to add that there's a female cyclist that has now moved on in Cheshire, and she's got a cycle cafe that she's developed as well.
Right.
I've forgotten her name, but if you do your research, you'll find it, and you should go and support her as well.
We could go into kind of coffee and cyclists using it for performance. We've got a bit of information here which we didn't really want to go into, and I think for us it's not, I don't cycle to train and all those, I cycle because I just like cycling. But there's a paper here from 2019, it's just looking at caffeine as a well-established ergogenic aid and how it actually increased the fitness or, speed or whatever for 5 kilometers time trialing in both men and women. And there's not actually loads of research out there to actually say how caffeine actually, what's the word? It's kind of, people use it for kind of those things, but there actually isn't loads of research on it.
No, it's, obviously it's
association.
There's the association. But yeah, the enhancement of the performance, this is the science that I do not know, and I'm not going to profess to know at all. But, there's loads of studies out there to say that the short espresso or the kind of short blacks before a ride enhances the endurance and your muscles, and, it kind of gives you that perk to keep going. But if you kind of use it day in, day out as a kind of performance enhancement, again, it has an effect on the body, like, it's a long-lasting effect as well, positive long-lasting apparently, and the effects between women and men are very similar as well. So they've been doing studies around this. They've also said that, and I don't know if this is a bit of a stretch, but a flat white or a milky coffee after a ride, like in a social sense, can also help with muscle restoration as well, like the fats in coffee and stuff. So who knows?
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, moving on about kind of finding your people, coffee and people and community spaces. I think in the past we've seen venues opening up that are leaders in this front. We've got Look Mum No Hands down in London. It's an amazing spot. Like, you've been down there, haven't you? To Look Mum No Hands.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. For us, that was one of our inspirations at Station South.
So, bike mechanics, coffee, ale, fun, art, and I think something we mentioned as well, so just about the different cultures within cycling, because we'll talk about like almost like punk fixie cyclists, people wearing lycra, people utilitarian kind of cyclists, which is much more what I associate to the Netherlands and things like that.
Yeah.
But just a real vibe, and also lots of bike porn.
Bike porn, there we go. Yeah, I mean, just kind of following on to that. So you've got Rafa as well, who, they've established a really sophisticated and sexy brand.
Yeah.
It's like, everyone wants a piece of that, but not everyone can fit into those cycling jerseys, and look good. But, so you kind of got this like slick brand, slick coffee, slick rides, yoga parties afterwards. It's a whole cultural thing, and it's one that is aspirational. It's like you aspire to be like part of that gang if you're into cycling in that way. Your long rides. But I think what we were trying to kind of point out here is that there's little communities that have already established and that they're there and they exist and they don't get in anybody's way. You know what I mean? They're just doing their own thing and they're not getting in anyone's way. But maybe there's a little bit of a need to explore how to expand, you know, what a cycle cafe is, or you know, how we can evolve that conversation and get more communities like involved in that.
Yeah, because there's a big difference, as you said, around Rafa and say somewhere look mum no hands. And I was going to say everything I'm wearing today is cycling clothes, but hopefully it looks like I'm in civilian clothes. But everything, and I guess it's more associated here as, you know, just a bit more kind of casual or a bit more.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying is that you seek out clothing brands that are utility cycling brands.
Yeah.
But
and
it looks like every day. Well, yeah, and sustainable. And, you know, there's a vibe with your type of cycling, which is a little bit, if you don't mind me saying, it's a little bit like kind of courier chic. You know, so it's like you kind of got that. But then what excites me is when I see women on bikes with a little bit of a heel on, you know, or a little, you know, and it's like, oh, that piques my interest. And the more we see that kind of like normalization of like what we wear, like where we go in cafes and how we get support to fix our bikes whilst we're doing things, it's building active travel spaces that so happen to have different strands to them. So it's a hub essentially, and it just coffee elevates all of those conversations. Yeah, that's just more of the kind of what you expect to see, the riders, the cool guys, you know, what it currently is, I guess.
There's the courier.
There's
this picture's really, this is just people getting together, working. It's all in there.
Yeah.
Hopefully the picture just speaks for itself because I'm not doing a very good job of it. But,
don't be daft. Yeah, so what next for cycling? That's really why we're here. And actually, at this point, it's probably a nice thing to see if anyone's got any thoughts. I can see some nodding heads and, you know, some kind of. I bet you are all thinking, oh, what are they on about? What you know, what's my experience of cycling, and you know, what do I think about the current framework that cycling and coffee exists in? And I'd be really interested to hear what people's thoughts are on that.
Well,
so I may open the floor a little bit and get some thoughts and questions, fire them to me and I'll respond for sure.
We had a discussion, didn't we? Because I think we've come from completely different, in this different side spectrum, because I found this really hard to just kind of deconstruct and think about the relationship, because I don't think about the relationship.
Yeah, well, I think that's it. It's intrinsic in your lifestyle. You wake up and you dress and you go and you get on your bike to work, and then you make your coffee and then you chat to other people. Some people are there for your coffee. Some people are there for your cycle chat. And then you do rides on the side, and you know, your business is set up because you love cycling, you love coffee, those two things. Whereas Station South set up because there was a need to restore the building. It existed on the Fallowfield Loop, which is this 8-mile cycleway, greenway. And the high street was in a complete state, you know, and it's like, well, what can we do to help with regeneration of that that's going to be wholesome and bring lots of different types of people in? So my desire didn't come from the fact that I was hot on cycling. It was that I was kind of hot on what that building could do, and cycling just happened to be the anchor for it, you know. And I confess I've got a bike that I recently bought, but I don't cycle, and I should, and I don't like to cycle because I still feel that the infrastructure isn't there, and that's why I'm such an advocate for cycling, because I don't cycle. And I literally want Levenshulme to be like the Netherlands, or to be like Copenhagen. You know, I want it to be like a European city. I want Manchester to be like that. It should be like that. It's flat, for crying out loud. You know, I'm so passionate about it. And it's like you have to build the dream for it to come. So, you know, by doing the soft sell of cycling through Station South, we're bringing in lots of different people. And then those people will also start shouting about the need to build the infrastructure. And if I see Station South replicated in every city, and every, you know, that would be the dream, really. You know what I mean? So
I think that's one of the things that Station South has compared to, say, Look Mum, No Hands and Rafa, is the community side to it. You have a community worker, don't you, that's going out to different...
Well, yeah, so one of the things as a community interest company we'd set up to do was ensure that at the very start, as soon as we're a business, you know, we've got to make money, so we still have to charge £3 for a flat white. But to enable us to do good things, essentially we charge those people, and then we kind of have someone in post 2 days a week to do community work, grassroots stuff, getting people from different communities in to that space, and also offering them a free brew and a free quality brew. None of this like, you know, Nescafe stuff, you know, but we have Has Been as our house brew, and we make sure that we've got a lovely filter on for all the people that come and are like new to the space and don't feel necessarily like it's for them. We want to be like, no, it's for you, and have a quality coffee and a nice cake as well. And we get that funded through project funding. And then people come back with their families because they feel welcome and they feel like it's a space for them. So it's super important. Coffee is an anchor to, you know, to getting people through the door, and then we can get them on side to change the world, you know.
Well, and one thing we do, and I want to do more of, is I'm a qualified cycling instructor. So I have actually, with some of my customers, actually arrange time to cycle into work with them to support their commuting, look at positioning on the road, making them safe. Something I want to do more, and that's obviously encouraging people to get on the bike and go to work on the bike instead of a car or public transport. Also, we give 25p off to anybody on a bike, which that's a big shout out there.
Yeah, no. Yeah. It's a good one. It's one I'm going to maybe try and nick off you. Never thought of that. It's a good marketing strand, yeah. Yeah, so what next and who next? So Station South, they're trying to move this conversation on. We're trying to connect everyday people with everyday cycling, and we're doing that through cafe culture. And, you know, whether you've come from like, you know, Pakistan, or you've come from, you know, Nigeria, which is like Levenshulme has like 40 different like languages spoken on its high street, and we can't accommodate that. Might know a bit of Spanish or whatever, but you know, what we can do is translate into quality coffee and tell people, come in for your espresso here, sit. We serve coffee till 10 o'clock at night as well, you know, so it's like the nighttime economy is super important, and riding at night is important as well. Get over here at 7 o'clock, have a coffee, go on a cycle ride, and hang out with people that you might not hung out with. So that's kind of one of the models that we're trying to explore and work on. Normalizing like everyday cycling, becoming a place for the hot topics of the day around the environment. You know, some of the things that this picture here is a program called Women in the Workshop. And this was like an experiment at the start to six classes on Eventbrite. And we thought, oh, you know, we'll put it out into different local communities and see if they'll bite. And like, oh my God, it's been exceptionally popular, and it's run for 6 months straight now. We've been doing Women in Workshop in the daytime. We've been doing Women in Workshop in the evening. You know, we're kind of opening it up to more people, but then, you know, the demand is high for it. You know, we're kind of shocked by it. So. And then, and some of these women, Samira here, she has now moved on to starting to become like trained to train now. And it's gone from like not knowing, riding a bike, but not knowing anything about how to fix it, to I'm going to train up, and I'm teaching my husband how her husband's bike broke down, and she just fixed it on the road. Like, you know, she was like, you're smug about it as well. And then, yeah, it's just stuff like that just like fills you with joy and makes you know that what you're doing is good. And it's the little kind of like have a free coffee, have a brew and a cake that gets people to it as well. Sometimes you need an incentive to like as a welcome.
Yeah, let's not forget cake.
Cake is so important. It's bloody really.
Do we want to open the floor up a bit here or carry on?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can do. A cycle cafe for everyone. That's the motto. Yeah. You know, and I guess, yeah, has anyone got any questions about like our approach to that as a space?
How many cyclists are in the crowd?
That's a good question.
How many coffee drinkers are in the crowd? How many tea drinkers?
That's it, yeah. Tea is important too. Oh,
Yeah.
that was like a firm, like, I'm blood tea. Chai? Is anyone into chai?
Chai.
There we go.
Espresso and then a chai.
Is that a
So
dirty
not a
chai?
dirty, no. Espresso and then a chai. That's what
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, the
But
chai is the best. Yeah, I guess, has anyone else been to a cycle cafe before? Yeah, like purposely because it was a cycle cafe? No, just happened to come across it, or
What?
right? Interesting. And like,
Is anybody in there what appealed to going there? I mean, I went to Toronto in August because my wife was working over there, so me and my son got a freebie. And I just seeked out a place called Fixed Coffee Bikes, which was just amazing. I was there all day, really.
Day?
Yeah. Started on coffee and then it went to ale.
all right, okay. Yeah, beer is important as well sometimes. But I think for me, I'm trying to say, like, we branded ourselves as a cycle cafe and then kind of realised that might have alienated people. So we really had to hammer home that we were for everybody. And by doing a series of, continuing a programme of events that was so, like, varied, you know, from DJs on a Friday night to get, like, the night crowd in, or having yoga in the morning, like, with kids with bouncy, stretchy babies. Like, you know, it's been really fun, like, to kind of see our space getting used in a series of wholesome and slightly less wholesome ways as well.
Can you say a bit more about this?
What's that? That was the opening event, and we've got Sheikh Nurulum is he's based in Burnage, and he's set up just on during COVID, him and his mates were bored, and they just set up a night riding cycling club for like the Muslim crew in Levy. And they've just been going and taking videos, and you can watch them on YouTube, and they're really fun. Like, they just go around cycling at night. It's like they're like the Batman of like Levy on bikes. And they take videos of everything they do and what was challenging, what was fun, and then they go for coffees afterwards. So yeah, they'll hopefully be doing some stuff with us in the future as well. Just to get more, our focus is women at the moment and kind of LGBT crowd as well, and young people, but I actually think there's a big gap for men and, kind of men's mental health and stuff like that of all different, so we're, trying to think about how we can get more men in, just chilling it and having conversations with each other. And we're finding like there's Thursday night gravel rides that people are going on, that we've started up a cycling club basically. So this is a wheel that I kind of used as a means to think about all the things that people care about in our community that isn't necessarily cycling or coffee. It's everything. So when we're thinking about the events we put on, we think about networking events for enterprise, gardening, heritage, foodie events, kind of going for supper clubs and stuff. But, it always comes back to getting people in the building and getting them to cycle. So, this is the kind of the wheel of opportunity. And these are some of the events that we've put on as well. Yeah, but up here you'll see the different levels that we're starting to develop for our cycling club. So kind of not like Rafa, but the pink club is for race, pace and distance. The blue one is for kind of social rides that can involve doing things like little tours of Manchester. And then the yellow is for like kids, families, people who have never cycled before. And it's also like one cycle club, but with an elite kind of mid and then a really startup thing, and they all can help each other. So we're still trying to develop how that works and then how we develop the brand for it as well. But like we've got a lot of different people that are kind of in those yellow groups at the minute. Like the women in the workshop women are there, or they're kind of stepping into the blue. And then you've got the kind of people that are taking the lead on this development that are just hobby cyclists, and they are forming the club. Essentially, we're just helping them to design it and using our branding. Hopefully next year we'll have our own kit. We'll be like, hi Rafa, hi everyone, and doing our own thing. So that'll be nice, and that'll be an inclusive kit as well. We have modest clothing in the mix, and I don't think anyone's really done that in the UK before, but we'll be building that into our cycling kit. to make sure that it's a cycle club for everyone.
Just talking about, so I go on the rides, and there's a real, shared interest, which could be around coffee, cycling or not, but then people do share that interest through discussion where you find things that you're mutual things, and then there's a crossover, there's what's the word I'm looking for? Not a crossover.
Cross-pollination?
Yes, cross-pollination. But mental health, my God, that's such an important aspect to this as well. Men's mental health, because men don't talk about mental health, although we do talk a lot about mental health when we're on the rides. And then when we get to the thing, we're talking about, when we get to Station South after the ride, we're just talking about this, that, and the other, and it's, yeah.
That's cathartic in itself, isn't it? And, I think obviously coffee shops in the era of prohibition, it's a space to be creative and talk about all topics of the day, and that's not changed 100 years later. We're talking about topics of the day through coffee, and cycling has to be one of those topics now. So we have to get out of cars. We have to think about how we do sustainable transport, how we, improve our children's prospects in the future, and how we stop going to war with each other, as well. So all of these things, there's nothing that a good brew can't solve. And that's kind of the ethos at Station South. And we want to develop that with people. So when you come to Levy and have a brew and have a chat, you might just be helping a small business to keep going, but hopefully you're helping conversations to keep going and strategic level stuff as well, because we're trying to poke at the top as well as the grassroots. And I think that's the power of a cycle cafe, is having that strategic place now to say we're more than just a cafe. We're a space for change, and that's kind of, and also to give Nick and his tiny little cafe some credit there. What you do is super important, because he's going out into the community. He's developed a project recently that's called a Brewing a Pew.
Brews and Pews.
Brews and Pews. So he's going out into churches, and I'm sure you'll expand upon that. In Heaton Moor, there's a lot of churches and a lot of kind of older people and stuff. So you're trying to open up that conversation with people and also offer them a really nice quality brew as well whilst doing it. And you're cycling it, and then people are joining your cycle club, and so it's like this interlink between communities as well that's so important. And that's the joy of cycling, isn't it? Being able to get around and to connect the dots.
This might sound a little bit something, but I mean, at Bespoke, it's with everything it's just going off in the world. It's kind of like people just come to Bespoke. We have a banter, we have a laugh, and we just, for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, if people are getting a brew before catching the train, I mean, it just people come in, and I honestly, people say, oh, I had a smile on my face after I had a coffee yesterday, and I was able to get myself ready for work and stuff like that.
That's it. I mean, that's essentially it. Without hubs in all of the communities, and without a hot drink to comfort people, where do you get your daily connections? Where do you get to say hello to your barista? And I'm just going to give a shout out here to Steve, who's standing there, looming, should I say. He's our head barista at Station South, and he's brought with him a lot of the culture and quality coffee making that's enabled us to do good things with it. So without people that know their coffee, because I just know what I like, I know how to drink it, and I've tried to make it a few times, and I'm like, no chance. I hate really hot milk, I'm a proper coffee snob, but when I'm doing it myself, I always just make it too hot, and I'm like, I can't drink my own coffee. Someone make me a coffee. He's kind of bringing that elevated level, and that just brings lots of different types of people to come and enjoy it. So that's shout out to Steve. Yep. Has anyone got any questions or anything like that? There's one. Oh, you got a microphone and everything.
Do any of you offer like a cycle to work scheme, like the NHS, for example, or would there be any scope for you to do that? Just to promote cycling?
We've got that. All of our employees are entitled to purchase a bike and pay that off. We pay up front, they pay it off monthly. Yeah, it's part of our perks and incentives is working at Station South. When we first started, we'd kind of costed in that we'd have 14 members of staff. We've got 27 members of staff within 6 months. It's insane. And yeah, I think one or two people have taken up the cycle to work scheme. One of them because they got knocked off their bike and we all got trashed, which was sucky. But
we only have 3.
Huh?
We only have 3 members of staff in Kent, and they've already got bikes.
Yeah. Well, some people want a second bike and they're looking into it as well. So this is the thing, a second or a third or a fourth bike, you know, it's like, oh, I'll use the cycle to work scheme. I'm like, no, we're a small business. But it's all good. And, you know, all of our team get, I think it's 30% off of all parts and accessories and servicing as well. So, you know, you get those extra little incentives for working there.
What did the cycle club get?
Well, this is something that I'm just trying to work out now with a membership. So if you I know Rafa, you charge 100 odd quid a year to be a member. But that feels a bit stingy for us if we're trying to get different levels. So if we can cover people's cycle insurance and cover the cost of a kit, maybe we can subsidise others that can't afford it, but I haven't worked that through yet. So the people that can afford it should pay or can pay. And the people that can, it's almost like money in the pot. And that's something else that we're working on is a kind of pay it forward model for bike repair, because we've got a bike workshop with 2 members of staff full time. You know, it's, you know, like all of this for us, it's quite a new thing. So try to run a business. So what works, what doesn't, but you know, trying to kind of get people to do their services and saying, do you want to put a couple of quid on top for essentially. There's massive gaps in Manchester for people in the gig economy that are couriers that are riding. They see that we're doing bike repairs. They drop in and they're like, how cheap can you do my bike for me? And their bikes are falling apart. You know what I mean? And it's dangerous. And one of my things is I need to phone Uber direct. I need to phone Deliveroo direct, and they need to talk to them about how to support these guys because they're riding on machines that shouldn't be ridden on, and they're coming into us and going, can you fix our bike for 20 quid? And it's a £200 fix that's needed. But we were saying the people that can't afford can maybe put £2 in a pot, and that would help for little stuff. Eventually if we build that up, but it's not going to fix people's
As you grow
bikes.
though, you'll be able to have those structures in place to do more of that.
Yeah, hopefully.
I was thinking more of the cycling club Thursday night and what we get.
Oh, you get 10% off your beers and brews. That's it.
That's good.
Yeah. That's standard, you know. Yeah. I don't think there's much more to go on. Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is our aims and objectives. And art in here as well. And I think it's great just to do it as a pictorial form rather than words. And I think it just says everything.
Yes. As it's same.
Also, I just want to, there's a thing on Netflix called Coffee for All, which I hate documentaries. I really do. I just can't sit through them. But this one was I couldn't stop watching it. And it's just about how coffee just brings everybody together. One thing we do is suspended coffees. So somebody can spend £2 on a suspended coffee, and then we can give them out to people either in financial or emotional need. So that could be somebody that's homeless, who needs a hot drink, or it could be a paramedic that's just had the shift from help, and just, you know, as I say, just try and cheer them up, put something hot in them, give them a bit more energy.
Yeah. Coffee as a tool for good. Yeah. There we go. Right, well, if anyone's got any more questions, we're happy to take them. Otherwise, we'll wrap things up and let you go and get a brew.